morning, everyone. We're going to get started. Sorry to be a little tardy. It's first day back, jitters, and some of the other things that we have to go through. I want to appreciate you being here today. The members will take their seats, and any visitors will retire behind the rail. We will be able to start our session. To give our invocation this morning, the chair recognizes Pastor Matt Leckie of the Block Church. He is here today as a guest of Councilman Bobby Henon. I would ask all members, guests, and visitors to please rise.
Will you bow your head and close your eyes with me? Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for the freedom that we have today to meet. Father, I lift up all the proceedings that are going to be happening today, Father, and I pray that through all the things, through all the decisions that need to be made, through all the votes that need to be had, Father, I pray that you would move in the midst of all of these things, and I pray that your will would be done through it all. Father, I know that above all, you are our leader. You are the one above all, and I pray that today that you would speak through our leadership here. I thank you for every leader that is represented in this room. I thank you for the role that they play. Regardless of lines that have been drawn in the sand, Father, I thank you for every role that they play, and I pray that today would be a day of tremendous unity. I thank you that we have leaders that represent the people in this city, Father, and I pray that you would bring guidance, you would bring direction, and you would bring unity so that decisions that can be made today would be further help making this city great. Continue to make progress in this incredible city, Lord, and I pray that at the end of the day, people's lives would be able to be bettered by the things that happen in this place. Father, I love you. I thank you for the freedom that we have in this nation to meet. I thank you for the freedom that we have to make the decisions, Lord, and I pray that you would be honored by the proceedings today. I love you, God. I thank you for who you are. I thank you for your mercy. I thank you for sending your son to die for us, Father, and I thank you for all that you are. It is in your precious and holy name that I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Pastor, for those inspiring words. Council, be at ease. Thank you so much. And our next order of business is the approval of the journal of the meeting of Thursday, December 13th, 2018, and the chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, December 13th, 2018 be approved.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly approved. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and the journal is approved. Next order of business is request for leave of absence, and the chair recognizes Councilman Henon.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the majority, there are no requests of leave of absence today.
Chair thanks the gentleman. The chair now recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Republicans, there are no requests for leave of absence.
Chair thanks the gentleman. At this time, I would like to dispense with the regular order of business, and I would like to thank everyone who has come down to witness their government in action. We genuinely appreciate you being here. We hope that your stay here is a knowledgeable one, but more importantly, a pleasurable one, so much so that you come back again. So again, thank you so much for being here today. At this time, the chair recognizes Councilman Green, who will present a resolution recognizing the Philadelphia Alumni Chapter of the occasion of the 108th Annual Founders Day of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, with Thomas L. Battles, Jr., the 33rd, Grand Pole, the 33rd. Okay, all right, I was going to say, all right, I'm sorry. I'll digress. All right. Grand Pole March, and those accompanying him, please join the councilman at the podium. Thank you very much. Well,
good morning. Good morning. It's an outstanding morning here in the city of Philadelphia. It's not every day I get a chance to wear this distinguished blazer here in the council chambers, but we have an opportunity to have the 33rd Grand Pole Mark Thomas L. Battles, Jr. of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated.
Councilman, hold on one second. Folks, could you all be quiet, please?
That's here with us this morning. In addition, we have our 27th Northeast Province Pole Mark, Craig Chisholm. Also, our 48th Philadelphia Alumni Chapter Pole Mark, L. Douglas Harold Jr. The Executive Director of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, John Burrell, is also here with us this morning. And there's a strong connection between the city of Philadelphia and Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. For me, on a personal level, there's a very strong connection because I got first introduced to this bond of fraternity through my father, Walter Green Jr., who is a James Kidd awardee at the Northeast Province. But in Philadelphia, there's a strong connection with Kappa Alpha Psi. One of our founders, John Milton Lee, founded the Philadelphia Alumni Chapter. He also founded the Epsilon Chapter at Lincoln University and the Lambda Chapter of Temple University. In addition, if you go right up Broad Street, we have our international headquarters here in the city of Philadelphia. So there's a strong connection between Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated and the city of Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love and sisterly effectiveness.
Thank you.
I knew the Deltas were like that. So with that, I will begin our presentation this morning. Also this year, between July 30th to August 4th, we will have the 84th Grand Chapter meeting of this outstanding organization here in the city of Philadelphia. Well, not only will we have brothers, silhouettes, young men, and young ladies coming here to the city of Philadelphia, but also spending money in the city of Philadelphia, which in my other hat as a member of City Council is very important for our general fund.
Thank you.
So with that, we'll begin. Recognizing the Philadelphia Alumni Chapter on the occasion of the 108th Annual Founders Day of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated.
Whereas on January 5th, 1911, on the campus of Indiana University at Bloomington, Indiana, Elder Watson Diggs, John Milton Lee, Byron K. Armstrong, Guy Levis Grant, Ezra D. Alexander, Henry T. Asher, Marcus P. Blakemore, Paul W. Kane, Edward G. Irvin, and George W. Edmonds founded Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. And whereas through their vision, these 10 astute men founded a college fraternity now comprised of functioning undergraduate and alumni chapters on campus and in cities throughout this nation and the world. And through that seed, a fraternal tree was grown, whose fruit of membership is now available to and now enjoyed by well over 150,000 college men, regardless of race, religion, or national origin. And
whereas from its origin through today, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity is a unique organization in that its members share a common purpose of achievement in every field of human endeavor. And this unified purpose is exemplified every day by its members in Congress, city halls, courtrooms, boardrooms, newsrooms, classrooms, concert halls, film and recording studios, physicians' offices, athletic fields, fields of combat, pulpits, etc. And whereas in addition to the achievement of its members, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity is dedicated to training for leadership and through its various programs, including the Amen Initiative, Achievement Academy, Guide Right, Kappa Camp, and Kappa League, has mentored several young men in the past, current, and future leaders of our country. And
whereas members of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity have a lifelong commitment to serving the common person, and through this commitment have provided substantial support to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, United Negro College Fund, Habitat for Humanity, and several other nationwide and grassroots community service initiatives around the world. And
whereas Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity and the City of Philadelphia share a special bond in the fraternity's international headquarters is located in Philadelphia. And historically, the greater Philadelphia region has been home to hundreds of members in both the undergraduate and alumni chapters. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Philadelphia that we hereby recognize the Philadelphia Alumni Chapter on the occasion of the 108th Annual Founders Day of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. I'll be remiss in also acknowledging the achievement in this building of Kappa's former Mayor John Street, as well as the first mayor of the city of Philadelphia, W. Wilson Good, and also members of this legislative body, Cecil B. Moore, George Burrell as well. Further resolved that an engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to Thomas L. Battles Jr., the 33rd Grand Pole Mark of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, as evidence of the sincere admiration and respect of this legislative body.
And the chair recognizes Mr. Battles for remarks.
Good morning.
Morning.
On behalf of the brothers of Kappa Alpha Psi throughout this community and indeed the world, we humbly accept this resolution. We're looking forward to coming to Philadelphia this summer, where we will paint the town crimson and cream. We are excited about being here. This is certainly our national headquarters, and we enjoy being here. You certainly have welcomed us here, and thank you for the leadership here in the city, our sisters of Delta Sigma Theta. You have taken good care of us, and all of the other members of the Divine Nine. We looking forward to sharing this time with, and certainly our Brother Green, and your leadership here in the City Council. Thank you for welcoming us here, and we just look forward to you hosting us here, where we will paint the town crimson and cream and bring all of our families here to enjoy what the city of Philadelphia has for us. God bless you and thank you.
All right. Thank you. Councilor Biddies. Thank you. Our next order of business is communications, and the chair requests that the Sergeant of Arms delivers the messages to the Chief Clerk from the Mayor. Mr. Decker, please read those messages.
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, I am pleased to advise you that on December 20, 2018, January 3 and January 22, 2019, I signed the remaining bills that were passed by Council on December 6, 2018, and that on December 19 and December 21, 2018, and January 3 and January 22, 2019, I signed all the bills that were passed by Council on December 13, 2018, except Bill numbers 171-009, 180-909, and 180-935, which I am returning without my signature. And I am submitting herewith for the consideration of your honorable body a resolution reappointing Richard Goldberg to the Board of Directors for the Old City Special Services District, and a resolution appointing Betsy Oliphant Ross to the Board of Directors for the Old City Special Services District, and a resolution proposing an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter to provide for the creation of an Office of Immigrant Affairs, to provide for the powers and duties of such office, and to otherwise provide for incorporation of the office into the city government. And an ordinance providing for the submission to the qualified electors of the City of Philadelphia of an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter establishing and defining the responsibilities of the Office of Immigrant Affairs. And an ordinance amending Section 12701 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Bicycle Lanes by authorizing the Department of Streets to designate a bicycle lane and to remove a travel lane on Market Street and on John F. Kennedy Boulevard, all between North 15th Street and North 20th Street. And an ordinance authorizing transfers and appropriations for fiscal year 2019 from the General Fund, certain of all city offices, departments, boards, and commissions, the Grants Revenue Fund, certain of all city offices, departments, boards, and commissions, to the General Fund, certain or all city offices, departments, boards, and commissions, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. You have any additional communications?
I had none, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Our next order of business is the introduction of bills and resolutions, and the chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Good morning, Mr. President. I offer 3 resolutions this morning.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
A privilege resolution honoring the African American Children's Book Project on the occasion of its 27th annual African American Children's Book Fair.
Today's calendar.
And a privilege resolution recognizing and commending Governor Tom Wolf on the establishment of the first statewide goal to reduce carbon pollution.
Today's calendar.
And a privilege resolution recognizing January as National Human Trafficking Awareness Month in the City of Philadelphia and honoring those who work to eradicate human trafficking in the United States and across the world.
Also on today's calendar, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I introduce 1 resolution sponsored by everyone and 1 bill.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
An ordinance to amend the master plan for the Drexel University and to approve the proposed addition to 101 North 34th Street.
For the committee.
And a non-privileged resolution calling on the United States Congress and the President of the United States to protect vulnerable citizens by funding the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program and other federal food assistance programs as soon as possible.
And that will be on next week's calendar. The chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. On your behalf, I offer 1 resolution.
Thank you, Councilman.
A non-privileged resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Land Bank deeds conveying title to certain properties located in the 5th Councilmanic District.
And that will be on next week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Henon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I offer 2 bills, 1 resolution, and I ask that the rules of council be suspended as to permit the consideration of the resolution of today's calendar.
Second. It's been moved and properly second that the rules be suspended. All those in favor say aye. You want to wait? Councilman, let's wait until we call it up. Decker. All right. Oh, no, don't come. We good. Go ahead. We're going to read the title, and then you make your motion.
A resolution calling on Philadelphia charter schools to close or adopt a modified schedule in observance of Election Day in order to provide for higher quality polling locations for residents across the city.
Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that the rules of council be suspended as to permit the passage on today's final calendar. Consideration of passage on today's final calendar.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of the rules being suspended to allow consideration on today's calendar? All those opposed? Ayes have it. It will be on today's final passage calendar.
And an ordinance amending Chapter 10-100 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Animals to revise certain provisions relating to the ownership of dogs and cats, revising the definition of animal retailer and making technical changes.
And that will be referred to committee.
And an ordinance amending Chapter 9637 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Opioid Antidote Availability to revise certain provisions relating to the form of naloxone available and technical changes to the penalties for not complying with provisions of this law.
Also referred to committee. Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Mr. President, first of all, welcome back. Also, colleagues, today I have one non-privileged resolution.
Thank you, Councilman.
A privilege resolution recognizing AJC Philadelphia for its interreligious work in hosting the Muslim-Jewish commemoration of International Holocaust Remembrance Day, and further acknowledging January 27th as International Holocaust Remembrance Day in the city of Philadelphia.
Today's calendar. Sorry, Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
For the record, that was also co-sponsored by Councilman Dom.
Thank you, Councilman. The record shall reflect that. Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Council President, I have one privilege resolution and two bills on your behalf.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance amending Section 192900 of Title 19 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Senior Citizen Low Income Special Tax Provisions by extending the deadline for low-income seniors to apply for a refund or forgiveness of real estate taxes.
Refer to committee.
And a privilege resolution calling for the City Council Committee on Legislative Oversight to hold hearings on the implementation of charter change legislation, establishing the Department of Planning and Development and its subordinate divisions of planning, zoning, licenses and inspection, and housing.
And that will be on today's calendar.
And a privilege resolution authorizing the Special Committee on Gun Violence Prevention to hold hearings to examine the effect of gun violence on victims and co-victims, as well as the resources available to them.
And that will be on today's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Keona Sanchez.
Three bills and two non-privileged resolutions. One resolution on the charter change for the Office of Immigrant Affairs. I want to recognize the hard work of my council colleagues. Councilwoman Janie Blackwell, as we all know, has been a leader in this through her Caribbean Affairs Committee, and Councilwoman Helen Gim, that even before arriving to council has been a strong advocate around immigration issues. We want to thank the administration for working with us through this process and look forward to engaging everyone through this charter change process. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
An ordinance amending Chapter 16700 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Philadelphia Land Bank to amend standards for the acquisition and disposition of vacant and underutilized property and to further provide for certain powers, duties, and responsibilities of the Philadelphia Land Bank.
Refer to committee.
And an ordinance authorizing transfers and appropriations for fiscal year 2019 from the General Fund, certain or all city offices, departments, boards, and commissions, the Grants Revenue Fund, certain or all city offices, departments, boards, and commissions, to the General Fund, certain or all city offices, departments, boards, and commissions.
And that will be referred to committee.
And an ordinance providing for the submission to the qualified electors of the City of Philadelphia of an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter, establishing and defining the responsibilities of the Office of Immigrant Affairs.
And that will also be referred to committee.
And a non-privileged resolution calling for the creation of an Opportunity Zone Oversight Committee.
And that will be on next week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution proposing an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter to provide for the creation of an Office of Immigrant Affairs, to provide for the powers and duties of such office, and to otherwise provide for the incorporation of the office into the city government.
And that will be referred to committee. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I have one privileged resolution, one non-privileged resolution, and one bill for today.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance providing for the submission of the qualified electors of the City of Philadelphia of an amendment to Article 8, Chapter 5 of the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter entitled Referenda Approved by the Voters by adding a new section providing for that the citizens of Philadelphia call upon the Pennsylvania General Assembly and the governor to pass legislation that will decriminalize, regulate, and tax the use and sale to adults aged 21 years or older of cannabis for non-medical purposes.
Refer to committee.
And a privilege resolution recognizing the Philadelphia Alumni Chapter on the occasion of the 108th Annual Founders Day of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, Incorporated.
Today's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution submitting to the electors of the City of Philadelphia of an amendment to Article 8, Chapter 5 of the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter entitled Referenda Approved by the Voters by adding a new section providing that the citizens of Philadelphia call upon the Pennsylvania General Assembly and the governor to pass legislation that will decriminalize, regulate, and tax the use and sale to adults aged 21 years or older of cannabis for non-medical purposes.
And that will be referred to committee. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I have 3 bills and 1 privilege resolution, and I wish to be recognized for comments after the privilege resolution's title is read.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
An ordinance establishing a no parking regulation on Ivy Hill Road in the vicinity of Mansfield Avenue.
Refer to committee.
And an ordinance amending Chapter 12, 2700 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Permit Parking Districts by creating a new Permit Parking District 36 in the vicinity of Cotman Avenue, Roosevelt Boulevard, and the Tacony Creek.
Refer to committee.
And an ordinance amending Section 9213 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Farmers Markets by revising the limitations on a permissible location on Castor Avenue.
Refer to committee.
And a privilege resolution honoring the life and legacy of Karen S. Coates, Esquire.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, it is with a heavy heart and the sincerest respect, admiration, and sympathy for the Coates family that I am honored to join with you as our president, Councilman Kenyatta Johnson as a former member of the Pennsylvania House, and Republican members Brian O'Neill, Al Taubenberger, and David O., to introduce this resolution celebrating the life of Ms. Karen S. Coates, Esquire. For many here in City Hall, Mr. President, the name Karen S. Coates doesn't ring a bell, but Karen S. Coates matters to Herb Wetzel, to Hal, to you, to the school district of Philadelphia, because we here in this city of Philadelphia, working very closely, this city council, along with our Republican colleagues in the Pennsylvania House, would not have been able to get significant legislation that we needed passed to place Philadelphia on sound economic footing had it not been for Ms. Karen Coates, Esquire. Now, Mr. President, for the record, I just want to note that while she broke significant glass ceilings in the Pennsylvania House of Representatives when she became the first female chief of staff and the chief counsel to the Pennsylvania Speaker of the House of Representatives, Speaker Terzai, I always called her in private, Mr. President, the Republican mighty lioness. Now, we didn't get things done during that time, Mr. President, in front of a camera or on social media, but we did have some knockdown, drag-outs on issues behind closed doors, and we may have disagreed 99% of the time, but it was that 1%, Mr. President, that 1% that gave us the enabling authority to enact LOOP, that Councilman Squilla and Councilman Johnson know and need it so well. If we don't get the support of our colleagues in Harrisburg, Philadelphia doesn't have the authority to enact that program. The ability to collect additional delinquent property taxes. That is, we introduced it just to help Philadelphia, but when we introduced it, municipalities across the state said, wait, this can't just be for Philadelphia. We want to be able to lien properties of owners outside of our respective municipalities. In addition to that, we codified the ability to make payment arrangements, and we will all remember that much needed cigarette tax. That was not a sexy tax and/or a sexy vote, but we couldn't get it done as Democrats alone unless we worked in a bipartisan manner with our Republican colleagues. So it is with that spirit in mind, Mr. President, that I thought it was fitting for this body to acknowledge the life and legacy of Ms. Karen Coates, the mighty Republican lioness, because she was born here in Philadelphia. However, she was really raised and considered to be a native of Bloomsburg. Speaker Terzai, Leader Cutler, Leader Dermody, Whip Harris, all staff on both sides of the aisle in the Pennsylvania House of Representatives, know that this legislative body sends you our deepest sympathy. We thank you all for sharing the intellect, savvy, and compassion of the mighty lioness. And despite all of the political partisan gridlock coming out of Washington, D.C. now, that doesn't make much sense at all to move America forward, we will continue to work in a bipartisan manner to get what we need to get done here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and our great city of Philadelphia. We love you, respect you, and thank you, Karen Coates. And we'll be sending a formal copy of our resolution to her family so that they can have it as part of the sincere respect and admiration of this legislative body, the city of her birth. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. That will be on today's final passes calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Don.
Good morning, Council President. I have three privileged resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilman.
A privileged resolution honoring and remembering the late Raymond G. Perlman, master investor and philanthropist who passed away Monday, January 14, 2019 at the age of 101.
Today's calendar.
And a privileged resolution honoring Judge Harold Berger, lawyer, electrical engineer, philanthropist, and recipient of many accolades in recognition of the virtuous life which he has led.
Today's calendar.
And a privileged resolution honoring Vernon Odom as he retires from his position as an Action News reporter for 6 ABC after 42 years.
Also on today's calendar. That's it. Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gimm.
Good morning, Council President. I have two bills, one privileged resolution and one non-privileged resolution.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
An ordinance amending Chapter 19-1300 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Real Estate Taxes by reducing the amount of real estate taxes to be exempted for certain improvements to or construction of certain residential, commercial, industrial, or other business properties, and by reducing the duration of such exemptions.
For the committee.
And an ordinance amending Chapter 19-1300 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Real Estate Taxes by reducing the amount of real estate taxes to be exempted from certain improvements to or construction of certain residential, commercial, industrial, or other business properties, and by reducing the duration of such exemptions.
For the committee.
And a privileged resolution declaring January 30, 2019 Fred Korematsu Day of Civil Liberties and the Constitution in Philadelphia.
And that will be on today's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution declaring solidarity with and support for the hashtag Mute R. Kelly campaign, a grassroots movement that seeks to remedy decades of silence surrounding the sexual abuse of young black women and girls by denying R. Kelly a public platform within the city of Philadelphia and nationwide.
And that will be on next week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Taubenberger.
Morning, Council President. As today is our first session in 2019, I wish everyone a happy and healthy 2019, and I have no bills nor resolutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have one bill and three non-privileged resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance granting permission to Vincent Capello, owner and operator of Vinnie's Fruit and Produce, located in the right-of-way on the north side of Dickinson Street between 9th Street and 10th Street, to install, use, and maintain certain electrical wires, conduits, and appurtenance in, under, and over the right-of-way on the north side of Dickinson Street between 9th Street and 10th Street.
For the committee.
And a non-privileged resolution also naming Madison Street between Gall and Chatham Streets as Tommy Dunbar Way.
Next week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution appointing Betsy Oliphant Ross to the Board of Directors for the Old City Special Services District.
It's actually referred to committee.
And a non-privileged resolution reappointing Richard Goldberg to the Board of Directors for the Old City Special Services District.
Referred to committee. And Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer 3 bills and 1 privilege resolution.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
An ordinance establishing parking restrictions on East Gowan Avenue, Devon Street to Ardley Street, South Side.
Referred to committee.
And an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Stenton Avenue, Chelton Avenue, Broad Street, Wyndham Avenue, Belfield Avenue, and Worcester Street.
Referred to committee.
And an ordinance authorizing transfers and appropriations for fiscal year 2019 from the Grants Revenue Fund, the Director of Finance provision for other grants, to the General Fund.
And also referred to committee.
And a privilege resolution authorizing the Committee on Public Health and Human Services to hold hearings on the increase in maternal mortality among African American women in Philadelphia.
And that will be on today's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much, Council President. I'll offer 1 privilege resolution co-sponsored by Council members Gim, Squilla, Dom, Parker, Blackwell, and Bass. It is actually a reintroduction of a formerly introduced resolution. There was a typo mistake on my part, so this is not new, but a reintroduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
A privilege resolution recognizing, commemorating, and celebrating the centennial anniversary of the historic First Korean Congress held in Philadelphia from April 14th to April 16th, 1919.
And that will be on today's calendar. That concludes our introduction of bills and resolutions. There are no reports from committee today. So our next order of business is consideration of the calendar. There being no bills on our first reading calendar, the chair recognizes Councilman Henon for the purpose of calling up resolutions and bills on the second reading and final passage calendar today.
Thank you, Mr. President. The following resolutions and bills are being called up for second reading and final passage calendar today. Bill numbers 180992-A, 180893, 181, 005, 171, 112. All other bills and resolutions are being held.
Thank you, Councilman. Before considering these bills and resolutions on the final passage calendar, we will have our public comment session. It will go as follows. If you have not signed up to testify on a bill and resolution that is on the final passage calendar today, you may do so at the table to my left. When your name is called, you will go to the middle of the council chambers. There is a podium with a device on that podium. When the light turns green, it will be your time to speak. When the light turns yellow, you will have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. When the light turns red, we'd ask that you please adhere to our guidelines and conclude your remarks. You will be given 3 minutes to speak. Mr. Decker, can you please call the first name on the list?
Don Haas. Commenting on 171-112.
Good morning.
My name is Don Haas. I'm here as a representative of BOMA, Philadelphia. And I'm here today speaking on not just behalf of BOMA, Philadelphia, but the Philadelphia real estate community, represented by the Real Estate Coalition, which includes the Building Industry Association of Philadelphia, Greater Philadelphia Association of Realtors, Homeowners Association of Philadelphia, and the Pennsylvania Apartment Association. Together we stand united in opposition to Bill 171112 in its current form. We respectfully ask Council to hold this bill to allow the parties to have a mediation session and come to an agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your testimony.
Brian Bush. Commenting on 171-112.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Council President Clark and members of council. I'm Brian Bush with Sheet Metal Workers Local 19. I appreciate you having this hearing today for us. I'm very happy that Councilwoman Janie Blackwell is sponsoring this for us, and Councilwoman Sanchez for having this hearing on the legislation. Many of my brothers and sisters are here in the audience today to support this public safety legislation as well. Again, this is public safety legislation. It's not about real estate. It's not about, gaining work or anything else. There's a lot of different things that are being thrown around out there through the newspapers and everything else, but this is basically, it's for public safety. It's something that should be done. It's something that I believe and that we all believe that'll put Philadelphia on the forefront like it is with pretty much everything else. We've been in many talks with L&I and other people as well, and we're just looking for all your support on this, just to make this go through, and it'll be one step closer to putting Philadelphia on that forefront. So I appreciate everything that it took to get us here today. Of course, it's been 8 years in the making, ever since Fran Burns from L&I. Like I said, this is about saving lives. Sprinkler systems, yeah, they put out fires, but they do not control the smoke. And what is it that kills 80% of occupants in buildings is the smoke. So that's why we all need this legislation pushed through today. It's funny reading some of these different articles talking about the sheet metal workers just want this, to gain more work for their members. That's not what it's about at all. We're all working in these buildings as well. We want to be safe also, and we want to be able to help make everybody, all the different occupants, safe as well. So we appreciate this. We appreciate your support, and we have no problem with sitting down with BOMA after this bill is passed. We have no problem with that at all. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We got your message. Thank you. Mr. Decker, please call the next one.
Joe Danahill, commenting on 170-675, 181-005, and 181-044.
Good morning.
Morning. This is an official decree of the people in writ mandamus quo warranto, and as such requires immediate action remedy. Every week, council, mayor, governor, and others transfer private property to the government, probably illegally. Philadelphia brags all the time about being the largest MLK celebration. Dr. King fought for the equal treatment guarantees of the Constitution. My home was stolen. My 25 years of government-caused expenses were never paid. Most of Logan was paid, but not me. Could a oath-bound official look Dr. King in the eye and explain this? Tyranny has been defined as that which the government does, but the people cannot legally do. I cannot steal someone's home or 25 years of their labor. Has council, mayor, governor, and others unanimously approved spending upwards of $120 million low-income housing HUD money to build a mall on my stolen home? Why has the Attorney General and FBI refused my multiple filings to investigate and prosecute oath constitutional law violations? The constitutions require immediate remedy of this breach of law, breach of close, breach of fiduciary duty. Your oath of office requires you to act or face prison. 42 U.S.C. 1982, 1983, 1985, 1986, 1987. 18 U.S.C. 241, 242, 23A1, 23A4. PA Constitution, Article 1, Sections 1 through 28. 26 PA, CSA 703, 705, 708, 709, 711, 712, 713, 716, 902, and other laws listed in SCOTUS 158965, 141330, 144056 appear violated. I call on the federal and Commonwealth governments to perform their constitutional obligations, to investigate and prosecute all involved in the theft and illegal deed transfer of my home, 1038 West Wyoming Avenue. The denial of God-given 42 U.S.C. 1982 property rights for 25 years is egregious, extraordinary oath violating, and requires immediate remedy. A just government must obey the rule of law. This color law government must have its charter to govern revoked until a constitutionally compliant government is installed. Public servants cannot refuse their sworn duty to act any more than a fireman can refuse to fight a fire. The sovereign people require oath constitution law be enforced, and jail is required for all who violate oath constitutional law. I remind council, it takes a lot of cooperation to create and allow monumental corruption.
Thank you for your testimony, sir.
Joe Cox, commenting on 180888.
Good morning.
Morning. Thank you. I'm Joe Cox. Bill 180888 to prohibit gifts by pharma manufacturers to healthcare practitioners. As Bill Greeley said at last council, this should be a no-brainer. In 2017, 1,217 people lost their lives from overdose. People are dying from overdose every day. Not too long ago, I personally had to call 911 because I saw someone passed out behind the wheel of a vehicle. We need to do something about this epidemic. What job requires gifts? If it takes gifts to get a job done, who can I send gifts to fix our schools?
Thank you.
There are no other speakers in the public comment list, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. We will now move to our calendar. And Mr. Decker, if you can read the title of 180992A.
An ordinance amending Chapter 93900 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Property Licenses and Owner Accountability by providing for exemptions.
Yeah, could you all hold it, please, just a second. This bill has been heard on two separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Dom.
Which, I just want to verify which.
Chair recognizes Councilman Dom.
9928, okay, aye.
Councilman Green. Councilman Greenlee. Councilwoman Gim. Councilman Henon. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman O. Councilwoman Parker. Councilwoman Guimena Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilman Toppenberger. Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 17 and nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, please read the title of 180893.
An ordinance continuing the Aramingo Avenue shopping district beyond its termination date in an area that generally includes the east and west sides of Aramingo Avenue from 3300 Aramingo Avenue to 3995 Aramingo Avenue and certain blocks and streets that intersect that portion of Aramingo Avenue, and for which Impact Community Development Corporation, a Pennsylvania nonprofit corporation, serves as the Neighborhood Improvement District Management Association, approving a final plan for the district, including a list of proposed improvements and their estimated cost, and providing for assessment fees to be levied on property owners within the district.
This bill has been heard on two separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Dom. Councilman Green. Councilman Greenlee. Councilwoman Gim. Councilman Henon. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Neill, Councilman O, Councilwoman Parker, Councilwoman Corona Sanchez, Councilwoman Reynolds Brown, Councilman Squilla, Councilman Toppenberger, Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 17 and nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, 181-005.
An ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Roosevelt Boulevard, 3rd Street, Hunting Park Avenue, 2nd Street, Sedgley Avenue, Ontario Street, Hutchinson Street, 9th Street, and Wingahocken Street.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Corona Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I offer an amendment to Bill Number 181005, which has been properly circulated to all members of council, and I move for the adoption of the amendment.
It's been moved and probably seconded that bill number 181005 be amended. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Bill number 181005 is amended. It will be placed on our second reading and final passage calendar at our next session of council. Mr. Decker, please read the title of 171112.
An ordinance amending portions of Title IV, Subcode F of the Philadelphia Code to establish inspection and certification requirements for all smoke control systems and smoke and fire dampers in limited occupancies, and amending the periodic testing requirements of fire protection systems.
This bill has been heard on. Chair recognizes Councilman Dom. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Council President. I believe ensuring the safety of our citizens is the utmost importance to all of us when we vote on this legislation. I support the intent of this bill, but to ensure the safety, I feel strongly that any inspection should be performed by a qualified third-party licensed engineer. Due to the nature of my holdings and the advice of the Ethics Board.
Excuse me. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm saying if you're going to recuse yourself.
Yeah, I'm recusing myself from the vote. Okay.
Speak on the bill. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm saying if you're going to recuse yourself.
Myself from this vote.
Shouldn't speak on the bill. Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Dom has recused himself on the bill. All right. This bill has been heard on 2 separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Dom is abstaining. Councilman Green. Councilman Greenlee. Councilwoman Gim. Councilman Henon. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman O. Councilwoman Parker. Councilwoman Corona Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilman Toppenberger. Council President Clark.
Aye. Ayes are 16 and nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Thank you. All right, please. Have a little more to go. Mr. Decker, do you have any additional resolutions?
A resolution honoring the African American Children's Book Project on the occasion of its 27th annual African American Children's Book Fair, introduced by Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
Moved and probably second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and commending Governor Tom Wolf on the establishment of the first statewide goal to reduce carbon pollution, introduced by Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing January as National Human Trafficking Awareness Month in the city of Philadelphia and honoring those who work to eradicate human trafficking in the United States and across the world, introduced by Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly. Second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution calling on Philadelphia charter schools to close or adopt a modified schedule in observance of Election Day in order to provide for higher quality polling locations for residents across the city, introduced by Councilman Henon.
Chair recognizes Councilman Henon.
Move for the adoption.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing AJC Philadelphia for its interreligious work in hosting the Muslim-Jewish commemoration of International Holocaust Remembrance Day, and further, acknowledging January 27th as International Holocaust Remembrance Day in the city of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilman Jones.
Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
Been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution calling for the City Council Committee on Legislative Oversight to hold public hearings on the implementation of charter change legislation establishing the Department of Planning and Development and its subordinate divisions of planning, zoning, licenses and inspection, and housing. Introduced by Councilman Johnson on behalf of Council President Clark.
Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Council President, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the Special Committee on Gun Violence Prevention to hold hearings to examine the effect of gun violence on victims and co-victims, as well as the resources available to them, introduced by Councilman Johnson.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Council President, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution passes.
And a resolution recognizing the Philadelphia Alumni Chapter on the occasion of the 108th Annual Founders Day of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, Incorporated, introduced by Councilman Green.
Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring the life and legacy of Karen S. Coates, Esquire, introduced by Councilwoman Parker.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring and remembering the late Raymond G. Perlman, master investor and philanthropist, who passed away on Monday, January 14, 2019, at the age of 101, introduced by Councilman Dom.
Chair recognizes Councilman Dom.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring Judge Harold Berger, lawyer, electrical engineer, philanthropist, and recipient of many accolades in recognition of the virtuous life which he has led, introduced by Councilman Dom.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Dom.
I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring Vernon Odom as he retires from his position as an Action News reporter for 6ABC after 42 years, introduced by Councilman Dom.
Chair recognizes Councilman Dom.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution declaring January 30, 2019, Fred Korematsu Day of Civil Liberties and the Constitution in Philadelphia, introduced by Councilwoman Gim.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gim.
Thank you very much, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the Committee on Public Health and Human Services to hold hearings on the increase in maternal mortality among African American women in Philadelphia, introduced by Councilwoman Bass.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing, commemorating, and celebrating the centennial anniversary of the historic First Korean Congress held in Philadelphia from April 14th to April 16th, 1919, introduced by Councilman O.
Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
There are no other resolutions on the final passage calendar, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Are there any speeches on behalf of the minority? Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much, Council President. September the 13th of last year, I introduced a resolution relating to the Department of Human Services, DHS, and the issue of removal of children from families. Philadelphia has the highest rate of child removal in the nation, 3 times higher than New York City, 4 times higher than Chicago. And while we appreciate the work of DHS and all the social workers who protect children, there is a serious issue of lack of guidelines, transparency, compliance with the law, and uniform reporting standards. And it is important that we explore this, hopefully with DHS taking a lead in ensuring that there are uniform guidelines for hospitals, schools, and other places in compliance with state law. To that end, we will be having a hearing chaired by Councilman Cindy Bass on Tuesday, February the 12th at 10 a.m. here in this chambers. And I encourage anyone who has additional issues to contact my office in preparation of the hearing. We will have national experts, we will have leading attorneys and advocates for children, along with numerous victims of improper and illegal separation of their children from their families. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. On behalf of the majority, Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Welcome.
Every year, we single out a municipal employee that exemplifies the Philadelphia spirit and what being a public servant is. I had an opportunity during our break to go to one of my civic meetings, and I met a young lady. I met her before, but I sat through her whole presentation at this particular civic association. Her name is Ms. Vicki Riley. She works for the Revenue Department. If my colleagues do not know her, you need to Google her, look her up, ask her to come out to one of your events, because she went through a presentation entitled "Tax Relief is Knocking at Your Door." And she went through every one of the programs that people are eligible for, from LOOP that you guys fought for, to the senior citizen tax freeze, broke it down, how much they could save, how you could work out a agreement with the water department and not lose your home. You know we're big on stopping sheriff sales. Well, this young lady went through this for about 45 minutes, citing how each and every time we voted for relief for taxpayers. If you do not know her, get to know her, ask her to come to your civic association. She has a handout and knows by heart, can read it backwards, tells how much, if you make this much money, you get this much back. By the time she was done, Mr. President, the civic group didn't want to hear from me. I was like, I'm glad you're not running, because they were so pleased with all of your effort, all of this body's effort and painstaking way we go through making sure that we protect, as my colleagues talks about, Councilwoman Parker, middle neighborhoods, that I did not know we did this much. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know her, get to know her. If you want her at your civic, she will go out to them, and by the time she's done, you will be proud that she's a public servant on your behalf. And more importantly, every person that pays real estate taxes in the city of Philadelphia will be glad they met her. So I encourage you to look up Miss Vicki Riley, and I want to thank her publicly and on the record for going out and talking about what is available to real estate owners and particularly owner-occupied people in the city of Philadelphia. I was impressed.
She's good. She's been.
You know her?
Absolutely. She's good.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to remind everybody today, right after council, for all members of council and staff, the African American Museum will be doing a briefing across the street, especially during this time. We had a great day of service, Martin Luther King, over on Monday, and with Black History Month coming up, it's important to see if we could get some folks over there to get the briefing from the museum. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Don.
Thank you, Council President. Yesterday afternoon, members of my staff and myself went to the airport, and we donated food, non-perishables, and other supplies to the workers affected by the government shutdown. After speaking with many of the workers regarding their current circumstances, we learned the biggest need they have other than food is actually basic supplies. They actually have 2 rooms set up for the workers there. They need basic supplies, hygiene products, laundry supplies, pet foods, diapers. And it's very sad. These Philadelphians are struggling to pay their monthly bills and rent. So the smallest donation can help them during this time. But the government shutdown is more than politics. It is affecting the lives of these hardworking individuals around the country and in our city. I've had people write me emails saying they can't pay their rent this month because they work for the federal government. This is a disaster. As friends and neighbors of Philadelphia International Airport workers, I encourage all of us to take a trip to the airport, donate food, supplies, gift cards, whatever you can do, but most importantly, thank these workers who are working now over a month without any pay. It's pretty amazing. And it's great to see and hear that TSA and union workers are showing up for work every day without getting paid, but these workers need our support and help. If anyone wants more information, please contact my office. We'd be happy to help. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you for doing that. This is pretty much an embarrassment to the rest of the world. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President, and a couple of things I just wanted to mention today. First of all, I wanted to acknowledge that we have here from Martin Luther King High School in my district and also Roosevelt Middle School. We have students here today with us. And if you all could stand. This is the These are the students from the Honorable Augusta Clark Institute for Public Policy that we have started at Martin Luther King High School, learning about politics, government, and really navigating life. And so I really want to thank them for all being down here today. They're doing a great job, and we're just so proud to have the opportunity to work with them. So I just wanted to recognize and shout them out.
Thank you.
Thanks
Welcome
for coming down.
Thank you for coming down.
Also, I just wanted to also mention that today we introduced a resolution for hearings on maternal mortality. And I wanted to make sure that everyone understood what an important issue this is. We're going to have a lot of conversation about this coming up in the future. But one of the things that really struck me is that 75% of all deaths in childbirth are African American women here in the city of Philadelphia. And there is something really grossly wrong with that figure. And so we're going to get to the bottom of it and try to attack this issue in a substantive way and look forward to the hearings. We want to make sure that everyone knows and is aware, and want to invite folks who are listening far and wide to come and to participate and be a part of a solution. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Thank you for bringing those awesome young people down today. Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. First, it feels good. It feels good to be back in the body with my colleagues, doing the business of moving the city of Philadelphia forward. During our break, I did a lot of work on an issue that's very near and dear to my heart, but I think is critical as it relates to the direction of the city of Philadelphia, and that's the issue of gun violence. First, I want to acknowledge you for working in partnership with the District Attorney's Office, working in partnership with the Chairman of Public Safety, Councilman Curtis Jones, working with Commissioner Richard Ross, as well as the Special Committee on Gun Violence, where we participated in a press conference yesterday on a bill you introduced over 10 years ago, which revolves around reporting of lost and stolen guns. I said this before during the press conference with the mayor and their plan around violence prevention. We are really in a state of emergency. Anytime you have individuals who will run up in a store and murder a young man while he's just purchasing something, anytime you have individuals who will run the streets and rob a senior citizen, and after you take his money, you decide to shoot him in his face, we are clearly in a state of an emergency. And so I look forward to all of us rolling up our sleeves and addressing this issue with a same level of urgency as we do the opioid crisis or as we address bike lanes throughout the city of Philadelphia. Because at the end of the day, when we turn on the news, I get sick and tired of being sick and tired of seeing young men being murdered in the streets of Philadelphia, as well as our singers being scared and afraid to come out of their homes just to go to and from their daily activities. So I'm just sounding the alarm that we have a lot of work to do. There's some great things going on with this city, but there's also other area that needs the same level of attention, or even more, and that's the issue of gun violence. And so I look forward to working with everyone on this very critical and important issue. I want to say thank you very much. But also, I do want to say for the record, I've been the subject of a variety of different articles some time ago in the past regarding how we do business here in the city of Philadelphia. I know recently there was a caption inside one of our news papers talking about I received some type of significant personal benefit from land disposition deals here in the city of Philadelphia. But for the record, that newspaper, the Philadelphia Daily News, have printed a correction. Somehow, they just somehow, it was a little small correction, but they did say, no, we meant his so-called friend, received some type of big payout or whatever they were trying to get at. But nevertheless, for some folks that may read the paper, I just want to, correct on the record for my own personal reputation and integrity, because I've always stood on operating in decency and order. That's how my grandmother raised me. So at some point in time, I want to speak up for what's right and stand on my own truth, just to correct the record for all the listeners that's out there, my supporters, so they can understand what's really going on with the Councilman Kenyatta Johnson and my work in the 2nd Councilmanic District. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Yeah, we know you well. We know you very well that wouldn't be the case. Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I want to echo the words and comments made by Councilmember Dom in reference to the work that he's doing and helping people being impacted by the federal shutdown. This is the 34th day of the shutdown. 800,000 people have not had paychecks. This will be the second paycheck that they will receive a pay stub with 000 on it. And I think when we look at the news and TV and read papers, sometimes we lose sight of the fact these are actually real people, especially here in the city of Philadelphia, that are being impacted, and it's going to have an impact not only on our economy here in the city, but also the Commonwealth. That's why I was encouraged by Mayor Kenny's statement on Monday in reference to various city agencies providing opportunity for relief for those federal workers who are dealing with this shutdown through no fault of their own. They have no resources, although they're doing the work. As chair of the Gas Commission, I commend PGW on taking that similar stance. So for those federal employees who are having challenge with their gas bill, they can reach out to PGW. They can call 215-235-1000. Also, it is the winter season, and PGW has a number of initiatives to help people, moderate low-income people, and those who are having challenges with their gas bill. Feel free to reach out to PGW. I know people can also reach out to the Water Department as well as revenue regarding their real estate and city taxes. Hopefully, this shutdown will come to a conclusion shortly. There are bills that are being voted on today. It seems like neither proposal will get passed, but hopefully that will move people forward to coming to a resolution so people will no longer be hurt in the nation, the Commonwealth, and especially here in the city of Philadelphia. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you very much. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to thank Councilman Dom for his remarks and thank Councilwoman Bass for the legislation she introduced today. I also would like to thank a woman named Robinson from Mantua who called me about us partnering to do our part to help feed people who are caught up in this federal debacle that this president has caused. And finally, I would like to remind folks that the senior tax freeze deadline was extended to January 31st. So please let your people know, and anybody listening, please know that you have more time to apply for a tax freeze. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I forgot to mention, too, the
problem.
African American Museum briefing also does have lunch, so it's more of an incentive to get there. So, thank you. The important part to forget. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Councilman. That concludes the speeches on behalf of the majority and minority. And with that, Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that council stand adjourned until Thursday, January 31, 2019 at 10 a.m.
Thank you. It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor? Those opposed? Ayes have it. Council will be adjourned until Thursday, January 31, 2019.